Today we are setting up a pop-up dress shop for Abby.
So I'm thinking what we'll do is something like that.
Yes, right on, Joe. Are you making a pedestal, Jana?
Why don't you do an octagon instead of a circle?
Jana has a very broad skill set. She's our handy woman, if you will. So anytime we need a project done, she's the one we call on. She can handle the saws and the drills and
Hey everyone, it's Katie from Without a Crystal Ball. Welcome back to my channel. It is Thursday, August 18th. I hope you're having a wonderful day. This is like the 16th time I've been trying to film this video, and I'm going to try to get this done on this take. So welcome back to my channel. I always think it's funny when it takes me a million times to film, but hey, it's one of those days. Listen, I have a story that I want to tell you about at the very end of this video, so stick around until the very end so I can tell you a little bit more about what I've been covering over on Facebook. It's not the Dre and Vaughn situation. It's something totally new that just happened to fall into my inbox this morning that I think is really important, and I would love for you guys to go check it out on my Facebook. So before we get into today's video, I want to talk to you about yesterday on my channel. I thanked all the women that watch me, and I totally forgot about all the men that watch me. So to all the guys that are watching this channel, even though you're the minority and there's way more women here, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for supporting the channel. To my members that are male, thank you for supporting. I've got a long-term member named Kiko, and I just want to say thank you, Kiko, for all of your years of support on this channel. Welcome to everyone, and to those of you that are non-binary, thank you so much for following. Everyone is welcome here. Okay. So I'd love to talk to you about rumor that showed up in my inbox because a video was put out on another YouTube channel, and this channel has definitely put out some things that I've had to clarify in the past, and I'm not trying to discount or discontinue or whatever they're saying is what they've heard. They very well could have gotten information, but I just want to clarify what I've heard, and I can tell you whether or not there's any supporting information to support the rumor. So yesterday a channel put out a video that said that Jana Duggar has moved out and has been moved out since April, and apparently had built a house and was living like, I don't even know, 30 minutes away from the Duggars. Listen, I didn't watch the video. That was just what I was told, okay? So what I went ahead and did was you guys all started flooding my inbox. Like, is this true, Katie? Is it true? Is this true? What's going on with Jana? So what I did was I reached out to my sources that have connections around the Duggars, and I tried to feel out what the temperature is with Jana at the moment. Then what if there were any supporting records that could like substantiate the rumor that she built a house, and I also wanted to just verify if there was any records that could support really any of it. So here's what I found out. I reached out to my source that is really solid, that knows a lot of what's going on around the Duggars, and I asked them point blank, like, have you heard about Jana moving out? And this week, these were the same people that I reached out to when I asked if Joe and Kendra had a baby, because that was another rumor that got started, and they said no. So Joe and Kendra did not have another baby. They didn't have a fourth child. There was a picture that was floating around on Reddit, but that wasn't their baby. When it comes to this situation, apparently the YouTuber said that they didn't check any records. So that's obviously, you guys know that I will check records. No shade if they don't, if someone doesn't want to cover, doesn't want to check, that's totally fine. They have to do with whatever is comfortable with them. So when I reached out to my source, they basically told me that they have not heard anything of the sort. And I said, do you think it's something that could have been like under the radar that nobody would know about? And they said absolutely not. Basically, the way that they came to me was that, you know, the Duggars have kept some things really hush hush, but if Jana were to move out, it would be humongous news, they said. Like, this would not be something that could be hidden. They would not be able to keep a secret like this, because in this world, for a daughter to move out without permission or without like being married is just not heard of. in order for women to leave their houses, they either have to get married or they have to leave the group. So women that do want to leave their fathers will leave the IBLP and they leave fundamentalism. So they have to leave their belief system. Jana has not left her belief system. She is still very much in the world of the IBLP, and she still goes to church with all of the Duggars. She's still in that world. So she hasn't left the IBLP. She's not dating anyone. And she definitely, there was no supporting records. And what the source said was, you know, we would know, we would hear about it. This is not a huge community. And there just wasn't anything that they had heard. And they said that they just don't see Jim Bob ever signing off on that. Sad, right? There's girls that I've learned about in this area who had to basically escape from their parents' houses. So there was a couple of girls that were in their late 20s that wanted to leave, and they had to like coordinate with their other siblings in order to get out of the house and set up like a safe house for them to go to. It is not easy for these women to leave. And so I just want to caveat that when I explain to you the next steps. So they said there's no way that this would happen and her still be in the IBLP, not to mention they would know because everyone is two degrees of separation, even like 1 degree. It's not a huge community. So nothing's been spoken about. There's no rumblings. There's no rumors on that side. I reached out to another source who is like friends with the Duggar siblings. They haven't heard a thing. I reached out to another source who recently saw the Duggars not long ago. They hadn't heard anything. So 3 different people don't believe this to be true. I'm still working on them to confirm if they can provide me any more insight. So then what I did was I went to check the property records in the area, and I wanted to verify if Jana owned anything. I wanted to know if her businesses owned anything. I wanted to know if there was any new LLCs that had been opened in Jana's names, any houses that have been built or purchased by the Duggars or the Duggar sons, and any of the businesses that they own, or any transactions that had gone to a friend of Jana's or the like, or an LLC connected to the Duggars that was a home. I found nothing, okay? So Jana did own a piece of property in March. She owned a piece of property of commercial. It was what her Arbor Acres company was going to be. And Jana's business is not in business anymore. So her website is down. She is not actively marketing in this business. She's not actively, like she was supposed to start a shop. She closed that down. Over the summer, Jana has been helping out with people's kids. So she traveled with Jessa and Ben when they went to the Southern Baptist Conference. She has been traveling with her brothers, Jason and James, who live at home. She spends a lot of time with her brothers, Jason and James, who live at home. When Josh was sentenced in May, she was still living at home, and that was the end of May. She was very much living at home in April while she was planning Jeremiah's wedding and putting things together. There was photographs of her on her Instagram from March, and she was working at the church house that they rehabbed. So it's that old schoolhouse that a couple years ago they rehabbed. That's actually a church that they've converted. They've converted it into a church. It's called Thomas Lake Bible Church, I think, something like that. So she was working there, and that's like literally down the street from the Duggars' house. So I went into both counties. She sold her commercial property in March. There was no transfers of property in Jana's name. There's no companies. So the business that she owns, Arbor Acres LLC, they own no property now. The business website is down. And then I checked Jason's companies, Jeremiah's companies, Jed's companies, and Josiah's companies. And I went as far as to check Austin Forsyth and Dwayne Swanson's companies. So there's a lot of builders in this family. So I was like, well, let's just check all of them. And there's literally nothing. So they build Dwayne Swanson and Austin and Jed and Jason and Josiah. They're all building in this area called Bella Vista. It's sort of like there's a lot of construction happening right there, and it's like in the Ozarks, and it's super, super pretty, and there's a lot of bike trails, and so it's like kind of up and coming in terms of like, they have a lot of starter homes. They build a lot of starter homes, and it's just a nice like area, okay? that has cheap land to build, and it's expanding. And so that's where they're building, and there was nothing. So everything that they build is put back on the market. And typically what I noticed for Dwayne Swanson's company is he buys the lot from the person that owns the property, builds the house for them, and then transfers the deed back to them when he's done with the sale. That's kind of what Jason does, Josiah, and Austin. So not one of their companies has sold a home to a Duggar affiliate that would hold a property in like a trust. So the Duggars have a trust where they hold all of their properties. None have been purchased recently. In fact, Jim, Bob, and Michelle have been selling some of their property more often than not. They haven't picked up a lot of property. Jim Bob bought a piece of property, a trailer, through a LLC that he set up for Jackson. But I don't think that Jana would live in that home, and it's in Jackson's name. It is like not very far from the Duggar's house, but it's also, they purchased it in like March or April. And there was a home on the property, and they're trying to say that this house was just built and they've been there since April. So that doesn't wash either. And the property that they purchased nearby is just kind of close to the dump. They live by the dump, I know. So no, there's nothing at all. Now, someone was saying that lives in Springdale that there was like someone building a house on the Duggars' property or adjacent properties. So they figured that could be Jana's house. So then I did an aerial view of the property lines for the Duggars' property, and they actually don't own, so there's like this big pond that's right next to them. They don't own that property. They don't own the property that goes down the road of Arbor Acres. Their property line kind of like is not very far off from where their house is, and then it goes the other direction. So they don't, and then they have that house that Joe and Kendra live in, the log cabin. But there's nothing else. There's no new construction on the Duggar property. There's no permits for new construction on the Duggar property. There's nothing. No new structures have been built on the Duggar property, and the Duggars have not bought any property adjacent to them. In fact, they sold a part of their property back 5 or 6 acres to neighbors on the other side of the street. So they have property on this side of Arbor Acres, and then they go right across the street. There's a pond across the street. They own that land. Nothing was built there either. So there's literally nothing for new construction in the area, and Jana has not purchased any property, okay? So I'm sorry, I can't make this be true for you. There's no records to substantiate this, no property records near the Duggars' house. Laura, if she was going to live with her, lives in Indiana, so she would not live in a house with her. And again, none of the Duggar friends have heard anything. So I don't know who their source is, if it's someone that might have heard a rumor or not, but there's no proof at this point for me to say that this is true or not. So it's more probable than not that it's unconfirmed and unlikely. I hope that helps. I'll always do my due diligence as much as I can. And I forgot, before we go, earlier this morning, I got a message from someone that used to be in the Kingston Clan, which was the group that was featured on Escaping Polygamy. They're also called the Order. And I would learn about a couple of the kids in this group becoming arrested related to crimes against 2 members of the LGBTQ+ and an incident that involved a viral video. And one of the sons of the leader of the group, his son is in custody at this point, and then his nephew is as well. So I wanted to bring a little bit more attention to the story. So it's over on my Facebook. So if you're interested in the polygamy content and the stuff around, the Kingston, the Order, all of that, check out my Facebook at facebook.com/WOACB. It's a horrible situation. And I think the family just wants more exposure, and they don't want to be intimidated by the Order. And right now they're still working to identify other people that were a part of the situation. So if you are into those kind of stories, check out my Facebook. Now, also, before we go, tell me what your thoughts are about Jana potentially moving out. Do you believe it or not? Tell me what your thoughts are in the comments below. Bye, guys.